Hi, it's Global Politics with Jim Martin. Today I wanted to take a step back for a minute from all the sturm and drang of American politics particularly, and look at a country, and I may do a series of these, on a country where things are going pretty well. First one I want to talk about was Botswana. Now, interestingly enough, this is a result of one of my subscribers made a comment on one of my videos, and I noticed that they were from Botswana, and I thought, wow, I need to update myself there a little bit because I hadn't been keeping up with things. Botswana is a country in southern Africa. It's landlocked, which usually is not great. Their neighbors include South Africa to the southeast. To the west is Namibia. To the north, they have little spot where they touch Zambia, and then they've got a spot where they border Zimbabwe. Some of these countries are decent, others are not so much. The difficult thing, and there was, I can't remember the guy's name, Jared Diamond, I think, who talked about landlocked with bad neighbors was a really bad situation. For whatever reason, I guess the neighbors aren't bad enough for Botswana to really run into much trouble. They were a British protectorate until 1966. Then they became independent, and they've had a continuous record of democratic elections since that time. And for Africa, you know, they're doing well on that front. They have been led by a single party. There's other parties in parliament, but they've been led by a single party for many decades until just recently. A new party came into power and the transition went peacefully and it was all great. Botswana is rated as free by Freedom House, 72 out of 100. So not like Denmark, but also in a pretty good spot for Africa. They have some problems with prejudice against indigenous peoples, LGBTQ folks. The majority of Botswanans tend to ascribe to evangelical Christianity. They have some troubles with some of these LGBTQ issues and indigenous religions and things like this. Their courts have determined that these sorts of prejudices need to be constrained by law, and the parliament has been working on some bills, haven't passed yet. In terms of that parliamentary style of government, they don't have a prime minister. They have a president selected by the legislature after an election, and they can do 2 terms, I think 5-year terms. And the latest president has kind of come in on a sort of reformer note. There was some creeping corruption and some other things going on that voters didn't care for. Most recently, I think he was just inaugurated maybe a couple of months back. So, bit of a reformer type, nothing dramatic. Good to see that peaceful transition of power. The country has some substantial indigenous peoples that live across the country of Botswana. And many of these are sort of like, you have these sort of autonomous, sort of self-governing areas. They've really kind of worked that out so that by and large, there aren't a whole lot of conflicts there. They have a military, and it's small, professional. They actually started off without having a military at all, just police forces, but they've seen the need for to have some sort of military force. Mostly it's used for patrolling the borders, poacher interdiction, that kind of thing, and for disaster relief. They're relatively well equipped and have a pretty solid training relationship with the United States Army. Botswana is the size of France, but they only have a population of 2.4 million. It's a very arid country. There's some population centers, but a lot of empty space out there. It's very arid, so agriculture is less productive. Right now you're thinking, well, geez, how are they doing so well? They have diamonds. They have a lot of diamonds. Open pit, kimberlite pipe. Look up kimberlite pipe sometime if you don't know what they are. It's really a fascinating subject. They kind of entered into this public-private partnership with an international diamond consortium called De Beers some time back, and really kind of made a good deal for themselves. Usually when you make a deal with a multinational corporation, it doesn't go so well. But in this case, they were shrewd and did a good job. And what they've done over the years is take the revenues from their diamonds and turn those into investments into infrastructure, education, and some attempts to diversify their economy. They haven't done the greatest at diversifying their economy. It's okay. They could do more, but diamonds are something that has a pretty stable price. It either goes up or it goes up. That's a nice place to be. They also have a lot of tourism. They have some incredible wildlife and scenic areas. Their exports and imports mostly dominated by their neighbors, Namibia, South Africa. They have a good trade relationship with Belgium. About the only real economic problem that Botswana has is unemployment. And unemployment has run as high as 20% in the last decade. And obviously that's a big problem, but they have managed to kind of ride those waves and work it out. Diversifying their economy would certainly be super helpful in that regard. Generally speaking, I see this as a place where people are coming together. It's small. I'm always really interested in countries with small populations that are getting together and solving their problems and tackling things and working collaboratively. And that is certainly the case. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something a little bit. Of course, I am not an expert on Botswana, so if you have input or context that you'd like to share, please do so in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I look forward to talking to you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.